Good morning, all, and welcome back to the studies. We were discussing the UN, how what were the demands regarding the reform in the structure of the UN and its jurisdiction. What demands were being made for the change in the structure as well as jurisdiction of the UN. And then we were also seeing that how India claims to be a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and in order to justify its claim, what arguments are being presented by India. All these things we have studied, and now we will see what role is being played by the United Nations in a unipolar world. This is the world has now become unipolar. USSR is not there. Only United States of America is there, and which is the only powerful country. No other country match its powers. So, how UN is supposed to uh, play the role in this changed scenario. So, whatever demands were being made in respect to the structure of the UN and in respect to the jurisdiction of the UN, these reforms were also only demanded so that UN should also change according to the changing time, and in this way, if these demands of changes are accepted, if the UN structure of the UN, jurisdiction of the UN changes, then it will become more efficient in dealing with the US. Uh, at present, we can see how the UN can play the role as a balance against the US dominance. Can the UN prevent America from doing whatever it wants? Actually, in the unipolar world, what we see that America is all in all, and it acts according to its interest, and there is no other country which can stop it from doing that. So now we will see it is has the UN that much of power, that much of influence, that it can stop America from doing whatever it wants. But in this regard, what we see that US power is ultimate power. US has ultimate military and economic power, and because of this military and economic power, US has gained unlimited power, and UN is not will not be able to stop it because of its military and economic power. Then the second point is also we can present in this direction that uh, if we see that the contribution of United States in the budget of UN, we see that it is the single largest contributor to the UN, and because of that financial contribution, the dominance of US becomes very prominent, and moreover, what we find that United Nations is actually located, it is physically located within the US territory. The headquarter of UN is in New York. So, what we find that in UN bureaucracy, there are many staffs, many bureaucrats who belong to US, who are the citizens of US, and in this condition, it will be very tough for the UN to oppose the US. And we also know that the America is having veto power, and by the use of this veto power, America can very easily stop any move which is not according to its interest. Not only it can protect its own interest, but it can protect the interest of its friends and allies also. And in this way, veto power is very much gives very much power to the US, and it also uses this power to split the rest of the world. That is divide and rule. It also follow the policy of divide and rule by using the veto power. So in this way, we can see that UN cannot cannot present a balance to the US, because we have given these reasons. So it is said US, in spite of the member countries are opposing the dominance of US, is still what we see, that the UN is not doing anything to stop the dominance of US. But still we can say that UN provide a platform where the all the member countries are there present, and they can discuss various matters. It is the hard realities of the world politics that it is not possible to mm, control the powers of the US. Still, it provide a platform where we can think of we can present our views, we can discuss and debate many issues which involve US also. So UN is and in fact is not a perfect body. There are many loopholes in the structure of the UN, in the functioning of the UN. There are many weaknesses. There are many loopholes, but still we can say that we cannot think of the world without UN. Okay, because it has bound us in a way, and now we are moving in the direction of cooperation among nations through this UN. And nowadays what we find that interdependence of nations has increased to great extent because of technology. Now technology has became has um, because of technology, people became nearer, and the whole world has turned into a global village, and interdependence of people has increased very much. And in this context, we can say that the importance of UN is going to increase because of this interdependence of the nations, this interdependence of the people. So, UN and other international organizations are really going to play a much bigger role. Though there are imperfections, though there are loopholes and weaknesses, still it is they are useful for the humanity, for the whole world. Now, this chapter is complete. Now we will see various cartoons and other informations which are given in the boxes. First of all, this logo of UN has been discussed with you. Then, what we see, this is a cartoon. In this, we see two pictures are there, and this is the mm, This situation is of that period when in June 2006 Israel attacked Lebanon, and the purpose behind this attack was said that Israel wanted to control the militant group called Hezbollah. But actually, what happened that in this attack, which was done by Israel, was many number of civilians were killed, and many residential areas where civilians used to live were bombarded. And in this, when Israel attacked Lebanon. Then UN passed a resolution against this attack, and it took almost 3 months to pass a resolution by the UN. And the Israel army then withdrew from Lebanon, and that the withdrawal took place in the month of October. So we can say that we can see that how less powerful, how less effective has the UN become, because the attack was took place in the month of June. The resolution was passed by UN in August, and the Israeli army withdrew from this reason only in October. So in this way, we can see that the this is about the UN, how the UN has become less powerful. This is the picture. These are the logo of the UN, which are it is depicted by this cartoon that the logo of the UN has been attacked, means the objective of the UN, which was to attain the peace and security. That objective was attacked, and it is only a mute spectator to all these things. And this is he is the Secretary General of UN, Kofi Annan, and in this way he is shown that he is captive of the other countries, member countries. Then we will see, we have discussed this timeline, and this is the poster which was created by US Office of War Information during the Second World War. And these are the flags of 26 countries which were the allied nations, and which signed the declaration by United Nations in 1942. When we were discussing that timeline, I told you that in 1942 26 allied nations met, and they signed a declaration by United Nations. And the poster features the flag of all the nations that were part of the Allied forces. So now the UN is going to take birth. It is depicted by this picture. This we have already discussed. These are the various organs of the Security Council, and its subsidiary bodies are also there. This is the list of various secretaries general of United Nations. This is the picture which present the 60th anniversary of UN. UN has completed its 60th years, and that is presented by this poster. Now, we will discuss other international organizations also. It is given in the box. We can see here the World Bank was created immediately after the Second World War in 1945. And what are its activities? Its activities are focused on the developing countries only. As we can see that it is World Bank, the bank of the world. And what does bank do? Bank provides us loans. So the same work is done by the World Bank also. And what is the purpose of the for what purpose the loan is being given by the World Bank? The purposes are for human development, that is education and health. Where if a country has to make some investment in the field of education or health, other besides agriculture and rural development, then environmental protection and infrastructure or governance. For all these purposes, these are the main area of function of World Bank. It works for these purposes only, and it provides loans and grants to member countries for these purposes. And what happened that we cannot say that World Bank work for the benefit of the developing countries or for the benefit of the poor countries. Actually, World Bank or any such international organization, you must remember, you must understand all these things, that any international organization never works on the principle of equality, and it never works for the promotion of the poorer countries or the developing countries. Actually, they all are guided by the interest of the developed countries, and they are there only to promote the interest of the developed countries. And the same thing is with the World Bank. What we see that World Bank gives loan. Okay, it gives loan to the member countries, but in because of that loan, it puts a lot of pressure on the developing countries to in order to fulfill the interest of the developed countries. For example, it can put pressure on the developing countries that it has to open its economy, it has to liberalize its economy. And in this way, what happens that the developed countries they get a new country where they can make investment, where they can sell their products, because the market is open now, because the foreign direct investment is now easy because of pressure of the World Bank. So in this way, we can say that World Bank is a tool in the hands of the developed countries in order to fulfill their interest. Now, this is the list of top 10 countries which which contribute to the regular budget of UN. This is the figure of 2005. In this, we can see that US is the largest contributor with 22% of the whole budget is contributed by America. Now, we can see we have discussed about this that how US use this veto power, the how the permanent members of Security Council use the veto power. Now, this is the picture of a problem that arose in Sudan, in Darfur, in 2003. What was the problem? The problem was that the government of Sudan adopted a policy according to which it was against the non-Arab population of the country. It was sponsored by government, and there started a type of genocide. And in this, what happened that international community was not able to do a lot in this regard, and people were they're suffering a lot. So in this way, it is seen that how ineffective is the UN. Then this is the map of UN peacekeeping operation. The main objective of the United Nations is to maintain peace and in the world, and for that purpose, it sends mm, peacekeeping forces. to various parts of the world if there is any kind of problem, any kind of threat to the peace has been arose. And in this regard, we can see that in Sierra Leone it is sent in 2006. These are the names of the places and the year when the UN peacekeeping force was sent. Okay, so this is about the activities of the UN. Now we see this World Trade Organization. Actually, World Trade Organization, it is an organization, and what is the function of this organization? Its function is to set rules for global trade. Whatever trade is to be done among various countries, among different nations, that trade, there must be some rules for that trade, and these rules are set by World Trade Organization. And actually, the World Trade Organization was set up in 1995. Before that, it was known as the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. It was known as GATT. Now, the GATT became WTO in the year 1995. GATT was created after Second World War. Okay, and it has 150 members, and in this also we see that though it is said that decisions are taken unanimously, but actually what happens that major economic powers, America, European Union, Japan, these are the countries who use the World Trade Organization who use the World Trade Organization to frame rules of trade in such a way that these rules advance their interest only. So, in this way, we can see that the World Trade Organization also works in the same way as we saw in the case of World Bank. And I have told you earlier also that after the disintegration of USSR in 1991, what happened that it was the pressure of World Trade Organization on almost all the countries of the world to open their economy. They were pressurized by World Trade Organization to open their economy, to liberalize their economy. And all this was done only in keeping mind the interest of the developed countries. And developing countries, there are so many times the countries which are developing often complain of this kind of act which was done by World Trade Organization. But nothing can be done, nothing much can be done in this regard. Now we see there is another agency, that is International Atomic Energy Agency. It was established in 1957, and the main purpose of this international agency is to promote the peaceful use of nuclear energy. What we know that nuclear power can be used for both the purposes, for the purpose of making weapon, and for the purpose of producing energy. And if we use it for peaceful purpose, it can be very helpful for the humanity. And it was the view of US President Eisenhower that atoms for peace, that atoms should be used for the peaceful purpose, for generating electricity, not to producing bombs. So it was used. This agency was established for that purpose only, and the team of this agency regularly inspect various nuclear facilities in the world to ensure that the reactors which have labeled themselves as civilian reactors, they should not be used for military purpose. Only in these reactors only production generation of electricity should be done, and it should not be used for military purposes. This is the picture. It shows the ineffectivity of the UN. This person is depicting the America. Okay, in the right in his right hand there is a UN. It means that UN is not an independent body. It is working according to the interest of the US. Okay, it is in the hands of UN is in the hands of America, and by using the UN, it can interfere in the internal matters of any country. It can send its troops in the name of UN peacekeeping force in any of the countries, because whatever decisions are being taken by the UN, actually these decisions are taken by America only. So America can is just using the UN, and through UN it can control any of the countries. But if because of use of veto power and because of any reason, if it does not succeed in its purpose, through the UN it is not able to achieve its purpose, if there is some problem arises, any country, any permanent member of the Security Council uses its veto, and because of that, if it is not able to achieve its aim, then what it does? Now come to the left one. Now there will be war, and through this war, what the UN will do? UN will control that country. UN will promote its interest. So what does it mean? If the right one don't get you, the left one will. So first the US America will try to sort out the matter. First the America will try to control everything through the UN. But if, because of any reason, if it fails in achieving its aim through UN, then it will go for war, and in this way, it will win the situation. Now there is Amnesty International. It is an NGO, and it campaigns for main purpose of its this NGO is the protection of human rights. It is for the protection of human rights, and it acts according to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and it believes that human rights are independent and indivisible. It prepares and publishes reports on human rights, and the main aim of Amnesty International is to see that in any part of the world there should not be any kind of violation of human rights, especially any government should not act in that way that the human right of a particular group of the people are they are deprived of human right because of the act of the government. So its main focus is on the activities of the government, and to stop government of any country to breaching the human right of a particular group. And that is the reason the governments are not always happy with Amnesty, the reports of Amnesty International, because they fear that it will interfere in its internal matter. Then there is Human Rights Watch. It is also another international non-governmental organization, and which it is also, as the name suggests, it works for the human rights also. It does research in that field and also advocate the human rights. It is the largest human rights organization in America. It draws the attention of global media towards human rights abuse. If there is any kind of abuse of human rights, and then it tries to draw the attention of global media. It helps in building international coalition like campaigns to ban landmines, to stop the use of child soldier, and to establish the international criminal court. These are the work which was done, which was done by Human Rights Watch. So in this way, our chapter has come to an end, and we have discussed so many things. You just read the chapter thoroughly, and you are also seeing this video, and whatever, if you are not able to understand any particular sentence, or if you are not able to comprehend anything, you can ask me through in our online classes. Okay, so it is your duty to complete your studies uh, according to your need, and according to your uh, capabilities. So this is all for today. Now we will discuss the next chapter in the next class.